I think the Derby, from a standpoint of what it takes to go from scratch to winning the Derby, is a pretty massive achievement. It's the same concept as skiing, only you would have had to ask me what it means to win Olympic gold when I was 2 years old, and was just learning to walk around and putting on my first pair of skis, because that's the size of the journey.
Yeah, obviously you have goals for yourself in the sport, but how much faster do you think you could achieve those goals if you had the opportunity to just go all in, be around all the time out here at the barn?
This project, for instance, I knew I had to kind of ease into it, because there are certain parts that had to mature before I could even really use them effectively. The treadmill, the hyperbaric chamber, there's things that just took a lot of time. But I think within 5 years, if I were to come in and if I could commit myself to it 100% right now, I think within my goal, or my aspiration would be that within 5 years I'd be able to be competing, or have that high level of competition of competing in the big races each year. The Derby, the big three for 3-year-olds, and also the Breeders' Cup, the big ones for the older horses as well. That was sort of loosely. I mean, of course, I'm probably wrong, but who knows? I think realistically, it probably won't be until my kids are older before I can really commit all my time to it.
Yeah.
Which I really do. I mean, from watching the trainers I know and watching the operations, I think that is what it takes. It does take, just like anything. I mean, I lived skiing for years. I mean, that's what it has to be your top priority. So when my kids are older, and off to school or whatever, I think I could do it. But in the meantime, there will be these moments where I can ramp it up more, at least for periods of time, where I can really get things moving. And a lot of that is a learning curve too. I mean, it's a learning curve for myself, but also for the people that I surround myself with in the organization. And that stuff I hope to be able to do sooner.
What are your goals?
I mean, I want to be able to win all the big races. I think, that's more or less obvious, I think, to everybody. Everyone would love to win the Derby and the big three for 3-year-olds, and also the Breeders' Cup. There's big races in Dubai, the World Cup. Some of the big European races are pretty spectacular. Australia has the big races in November down there. But really, I think as in skiing, my goals are also around percentages and being sustainable and long-term successful. So I want to be able to have a breeding operation. I want to be able to make the whole thing economically viable from a business standpoint, which is a completely different challenge. If you had $1 billion, you could go and probably win the big races that next year, right. But you'd be spending, $50 or $60 million to do it. And, that's not sustainable, so.
I read that you said somewhere that winning the Derby would mean more to you than winning Olympic gold. Is any truth to that?
I mean, I can't say, because I've never done it, and I have won Olympic gold, and it was amazing, but it wasn't the end all be all for me. I mean, I know enough about skiing to know, how that fits into my achievements, and I think the Derby, from a standpoint of what it takes to go from scratch to winning the Derby, is a pretty massive achievement. It's the same concept as skiing, only you would have had to ask me what it means to win Olympic gold when I was 2 years old, and was just learning to walk around and putting on my first pair of skis, because that's the size of the journey. And in this case, I'm starting as an adult, and I'm taking on a challenge that I think is equally as hard as winning something, an Olympic gold or a World Cup in skiing. The Derby only happens once a year. It's the best horses. There's so many variables. There's a million things that can go wrong, and only one way to win, and only one person wins each year. So, I think in that sense, it would be an equal or bigger accomplishment.
You were obviously top in ski racing for a long time and sustained that position. With horse racing, it's a process to obviously have similar success. The being at the top, or the journey more enjoyable to you?
I mean, I don't know. I can't say in horse racing, I can't say, because I'm only in the journey right now. So I can't say how it'll be when I'm on the top. Obviously, everybody always thinks the end result's going to be the best part. And, if you're holding your breath, suffering, thinking the end's going to be the best part, then that's dangerous. But I enjoy this part of it. I enjoyed the process. It's tough and it's challenging, and you have to figure out how to enjoy that part of it. But watching horses that we're picking out or that we're breeding and watching grow, win and have success, even at a smaller level, I do liken that a lot to ski racing. I mean, when I won my first races when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, they were tiny little races. They didn't mean anything. But to me at that time, they were a huge deal. They represented incremental improvement, and they represented the level I was at. So for me, at that time, that was the Olympics, you know. And then when I was 13, 14, it was the Junior Olympics. That was as big as it got. I didn't have the opportunity. You're not eligible,
Right.
You know, so you are where you are. And that's where we are right now, you know, for us right now. And, you know, the irony is it's not such a big gap as it is for skiing, where, you know, when I was 8 years old, I mean, we had no chance. Some of these horses that are in this barn right now could potentially be Breeders' Cup winning horses in a year or 2 years. So, you know, the gap isn't as big as it was in skiing, but I definitely see it as the same type of process.